Hello everyone, Burb here. At the time this video's release, Yaeno Muteki will be close to joining the roster of Umamusume. I like to take newly released Umas, go and try to figure out as much as I can about them, compile it into a singular video for reference now and later. It's the sort of encyclopedia of Umas that I am trying to build. Today, I'll talk about the banner, I'll talk about the character, let's talk about Yaeno Muteki. If you are a Yaeno Muteki Oshi player, you probably heard a lot of negativity about this character because she's not the top meta character. We just had Nishino Flower. That was a pace slash late surger parent that had meta relevance over miles and sprints. This character does not. And for a lot of people, that just means it's a skip. However, if this is your Oshi, pull for your Oshi. It's going to be what keeps you playing the game. And she is certainly viable. Yes, there's some problems with her, but the thing is that her ultimate's one of the easiest to proc in the game. It's pretty consistent. It's close to a triumphant pulse, and it doesn't really matter what the track is too much. It still gets pretty consistent value. The other big thing is that she comes with its on a very, very good mid-race skill that is not track dependent, so you can just put it on pretty much every single run that you build. It's on as a very good skill in my opinion, especially if you go and put hint books towards it, because you're Oshi, you're going to be putting your hint books onto the characters that you like. Okay, that's my spiel. Let's talk about her aptitudes, and this is why I was saying she's very flexible. You can run her pretty much anywhere except for sprints. So, she's meant to be a medium track runner. However, because the medium skills that she have are problematic, she generally leans on the fact she has its on, which means you can kind of build her wherever you want. So, medium A, Mile B means that it's neither a force to do mediums and miles. Long track she's actually quite good on because it's a 300 meter ultimate, as we're going to talk about. You just go to E to A and you'll probably have long S because of the number of long sparks you're running, and you can make her dirt because dirt is also E. So she can run everything except for shorts without forcing. The other thing is you can run her front runner technically. It's a little wacky with her ultimate, as we're going to see. But it's technically possible if you are trying to do something weird with multiple front runners. Her stat bonuses are 20% power, 10% guts. The 10% guts is a little bit not that relevant at the moment, but the 20% power is incredible. 20% power characters are very good because when you tap the speed button, the power button, the guts button, you basically get power by proxy no matter what. So it lends itself well to the guts maxing build because power is the harder of the two stats to acquire in stat bonus. You can run a bunch of power cards to, a bunch of guts power bonus cards to sort of amplify that 20% character bonus, and then just run speed sparks. Or you can just run the standard speed power whip build, and it works just perfectly fine because your speed and your power are both going to go and increase that 20% power. She's rather flexible. Her longs, it's a little troublesome in longs. You generally have to press the stamina button at least a couple times, especially if you're free to play. But in general, this is just going to make it so that you can just run a speed wet deck with a stamina card because your power will just naturally come from tapping the speed button. Her ultimate. Peerless Dance of Flowering Flames. If the user passes another runner on the final corner or later, increase velocity with Fiery Fighting Spirit when in the front part of the pack with 300 meters or less remaining. Remember Nishino Flowers? This is it, this one. A lot shorter, and that's quite nice and quite refreshing. So let's go and get into it. Her precondition, which means this has to occur in order for her condition and her ultimate to occur at any point in the final corner or later. That's what is final corner means. If you are able to change order one time less than 0, which means you are passing somebody at any point. So at any point in this one, if you do it, if you're able to pass somebody, you basically will satisfy the precondition. At the same time, at that point, if you pass it anywhere here, anywhere on this final corner, or at the time you do it, at 300 meters or less, you will, if you are 4th or better, proc her ultimate. So 5th place, 4th place, will proc her ultimate. Now, notably, 300 meters, if you do it around here, if you pass somebody around here, and then you're in 4th place right at the 300 meter mark, it is exactly at 300 meters at which it procs. Otherwise, if you don't satisfy the one passing condition, and you're in 5th place, let's say, and you pass into 4th place, you satisfy both the precondition and the condition, and therefore, that means that you will proc it at the moment you pass into 4th position. Notably, this ultimate is 4th or better, and not 2nd through 4th, which is really, really important, because that means it works in 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and including first position, which is different than Tri-Pulse. It means that if you have an advantage in the final straight, you essentially will still get value from this and you will push your advantage. The one thing that Triumph and Pulse doesn't do is that if you're at 200 meters and you're in first place, you just don't get your ultimate. So if someone passes you after 200 meters, that is the sort of dead zone for Oguri Cap Ultimate. But we'll talk about Oguri Cap Ultimate, and this is the frustrating thing about this ultimate, is that it's a 5-second 0.35. Unfortunately, Oguri Cap is a 5-second 0.45. Now, Oguri Cap Ultimate is one of the best ultimates in the game, in my personal opinion. One of the best late race ultimates in the game. So it's about 20% worse than it. It's just full stop. There's no way to get a 0.45 on this character. It is just a simple 0.35, 5 seconds. Now, the thing is that it does work in first position. So if you're able to build your character strong enough to get in first position by that 300 meter mark or better at any point, you just push your advantage that you already have, which is the thing that is the only thing that is better than Oguri Cap Ultimate. The part that's actually disheartening is that the inherit is a 0.15, which means that it's just a 3-second white skill. It is technically a 3-second and not a 2.4 second at least, but it's just usually not worth it to pick up on other characters, because we just generally don't have enough skill points to do so. Whereas Triumph and Pulse, of course, is one that you can pick up if you have a lot of hints, because it's a 0.25, so it's basically 40% better than it. So unfortunately, this ultimate is not the most inheritable as possible, which is really frustrating, and is what a lot of people's negativity is about this character, is that it's just not as good as one of the best late race ultimates in the game. Her career. It's quite simple. It is what I like to call a vodka style career. It's a mile medium career in which you have a sacrificial race. So your sacrificial race is the Kakuka show. You do not have to win it. You just have to participate in it. And of course, all of this is disabled in Track Blazer. It'll come back in Grand Live. Her secret doesn't even have to do with which races you win. You just have to win against any of the following: Oguri Cap, Super Creek, and RE1 8 times. And then I believe at the end of the career, you will get a +10 all. Coming from a winning ticket player whose whole point is to win against B&W members, these characters will be in your races. I think the only ones that they may not be in are in the first 2 of the Triple Crown, because I don't think canonically either of these 3 did that. But you will find these randomly into other races that you do, okay? So most likely you are proccing this, you are getting the all stats up with just a little bit effort, and you are ascending to have a little bit better of a character with an addition of Homestretch Chase and some additional hints for ramp up. Otherwise, costume event, pretty easy, just a charming status. It is one of the better versions of it. Charming is better than the Hot Topic characters, and you get standard distance as a bottom option in one of your character events. For skills, we've talked about her event skills. The innate skills that she has are Pace Chaser Corners, Fighting Spirit, which is new. Fighting Spirit is one of the medium skills in which it is essentially block side continue time and a tiny amount of endurance. Now this helps with another skill we're doing on later, but essentially this will most likely proc in the mid race as long as there's someone else of your style that you are trying to pass. Corner acceleration is particularly useful more on the sprints and miles, because usually those tracks have only 2 corners, which means it's closer to a 1 in 3 rather than the standard 1 in 4 to 1 in 5. It's on the longs and the mediums. Her golds, the one that's good right now is It's On. Now, It's On looks a little bit innocuous because it's a short duration skill. A lot of people don't like ramp up, but what it does is that it prevents the situation where you proc a skill, particularly stuff like Professor of Curvature, or in this case as well, Fighting Spirit, where you are challenging somebody, and then a corner happens, and you all of a sudden have to run longer than someone else, than the person you're trying to pass, and then your overtake ends up failing and you just slide behind them. You've probably seen it before, especially in the Pisces Cup. What It's On does is when you are about halfway through, it will deem that you have passed them. It will proc additional speed, and It's On will allow you to complete the pass even if you're on that corner. So usually it's a little wonky, and I don't know 100% about how it works, but in general, it just helps you complete passes, and that's what that makes it more valuable than normal, despite its lower duration of mid-race skill. The other one is unfortunately very problematic. Unyielding has the problem that its change order 1 time greater than 0, which means you have been passed. You don't ever really want to be passed, especially on the final corner, because if you're a pace chaser, it normally means it's a late surger or someone who has hit acceleration and you have not. What it does is it makes it so that you get a little bit of an acceleration and a speed boost. The problem is that if someone is passing you, they're starting to go faster than you. So it's like they have speed carryover over you because they have hit their acceleration before you. So they're already going faster and you get some acceleration to get to their speed, but they're still already flying by you. So they have passed you, you are losing the race when the skill procs. It's very few situations where that's not true. It can save a couple runs, but it's usually not worth the 300 skill points required at. Notably, however, this skill does get changed in second Annie, into overtake target time, which means that when another Uma tries to pass you, overtake target means that they are attempting to pass you, it will proc instead. So they don't have to actually complete a pass, they only have to attempt a pass in order for this to proc, and then this skill becomes a little bit more relevant than before. It still has the sort of problem that it can be eaten in the Excel zone and, the whole it never procs on time, but the part that makes it so you don't just automatically lose the race is gone. So unyielding is usually a not take right now, but eventually it will be useful. Firstly, on viability, this character is quite flexible. Basically, on every medium track and longer, she is viable because 300 meters is pretty far forward into the late race. So you're always at max speed, so the speed that you gain from it will always be useful. And the one good thing also about this character is that on longs, 300 meters is usually far enough away that the stretch from skill duration does not mean it is clipped by the end of the race. On miles, and especially sprints, you might have some trouble with it being eaten in the acceleration zone. However, usually on sprints and on miles, if you are passing into fourth position, you usually are in a good position to win the race anyways. Even if part of the skill duration is eaten by the acceleration zone, you will still get a little bit of target speed out of it. So basically, the only really things about CM viability on this character is that on the miles you lose some value, but usually it's okay. The sprints are a little tough, and the mediums and longs you get full value for this skill. For her affinity, she has a lot of great affinities. Her best affinity for some reason is Air Groove. I don't know the lore behind that, but Air Groove, 32 is a pretty high affinity. It's not the highest we've ever seen. It's just the pure bulk of characters that she has good affinity with. You have Tokai Teo, which is also interesting because second anniversary update helps regular base Tokai Teo as well. And then as well as Biwa Hayahide and Super Creek, TM Opera O, Tosin Jordan, and honestly her list goes on and on and on and on for characters now and characters in the future. Just like most of the characters on the roster, I think it's like something like 57 of them are above 20 and like 35 are above 25. It's quite insane how good of an engine, like an affinity engine, she is in order to help you get skills passed on to further lineages. So in conclusion, she is pretty much just a general purpose all-rounder with its on. If this is a character that you enjoy, feel free to pull for her because it's really not going to hurt at all. As long as it's in your pull plan, pull for the characters that you like. It's not going to be anything to write home about this time though, so take it with a grain of salt. She's just fine, and I'm sorry there's not much other things to talk about. This is one of the simplest characters in this game. So I appreciate that after Nishino Flower having that complicated explanation of block site continue time, that this time it's just, hey, pass somebody, go, and just win at that point. Pass somebody, enjoy the speed. All right, take care, everyone. Burb out.